everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new Walking Dead spin-off series, The Ones Who Live, and this series actually had Andrew Lincoln, Denai Guerrera, and of course Lesley-Ann McIntosh reprise their roles as Rick, Michonne, and Jadis/Ann, depending on which version you want to look at. Ann technically I believe was her real name. Jadis Stokes was her CRM sort of nickname, or almost like born again name so to speak, in this Civic Republic military. And so it was really cool to see those characters return, and we had a couple of great additions to the cast as well. Terry O'Quinn portraying a character known as Major General Beale, Lesley-Ann Bryant who portrays a character known as Pearl Thorne, and just a bunch of great characters in this series as a whole. But essentially, first and foremost, the main focus of this series is of course Rick and Michonne, and this is undoubtedly a love story based on our favorite Walking Dead post-apocalyptic couple, Rick and Michonne. And what I really liked about this series was the editing and how everything was cut together. Out of all the spin-offs, Dead City, Daryl Dixon, and The Ones Who Live, I would say that this series, The Ones Who Live, is the most, which really is the most that relies heavily on the original Walking Dead series. So this is almost like a Walking Dead 2.0, except it only focuses on Rick and Michonne and their love for each other. And so the first two episodes of this series really focuses on catching us up on where Rick has been for the past 10 years or 5 years, however long it's been, 5, 6 or years, whatever. And then episode 2 focuses sort of on Michonne's perspective, and then everything that leads up to them meeting. And then, of course, episode 3 is sort of the both of them together, sort of in the CRM. So I guess some minor spoilers, but you get what I mean. The third episode is sort of like that actual reunion. And then 4, 5, and 6 then is basically everything that happens after they reunite. I would say episode 4 of The Ones Who Live was probably one of the best Walking Dead series of all time, or episodes of all time. That episode, I believe, was actually written by Denai Guerrera, which is really cool. She portrays Michonne, so it's really cool to see them, the actors, actually be a part of that creative team to bring, you know, these amazing characters to life and whatsoever. I will say also that The Ones Who Live had an absolute amazing, stunning view. It very much looked like a movie. It had that cinematic vibe. The editing, but also the visuals, the setting, and special effects were really done really well, especially in the finale. I won't give away real true spoilers, but in the finale there was one scene where it's a massive explosion, and I had to say that explosion looked really good. But once again, like I said, the heart of this show is definitely Rick and Michonne, and this show, every single episode had a purpose. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of filler in this series. It is only a mini-series, so it is only 6 episodes. If I were to nitpick this show and, you know, sort of find a little complaint about it, I would say that I did feel like the 6th episode was a little bit rushed. They should have either done 7 or 8 episodes, or actually went ahead and renewed it for a season 2, because something does happen in the finale, especially like say the very closing scenes, the very ending. I feel like it was a little bit rushed, and although it was really heartwarming and it was really cool to see, and it is definitely something that we've all been waiting for, I do feel like the build-up wasn't quite as high as I would have liked it for something so significant. And that's all I'll say, because I don't want to actually ruin it for you. I don't want to spoil the episode. And now if you do want to dive into this series a little bit more with me, you can do so. We did a scene-by-scene breakdown of every episode of the whole series, so I won't spoil that on here. But I will say that I did feel like the finale was a little rushed, and I thought that the very closing parts of the series I felt like it wasn't built up enough, even though when I saw it, I still loved it, and I don't regret it. I wouldn't change anything other than the fact that I would have added an episode 7 and 8 and just sort of let that breathe a little bit, especially with like Terry O'Quinn, you know, General Major Beale. You had such a phenomenal actor being here with such an intimidating role, sort of like the main villain, I guess, so to speak. You also had Jadis. You know, Jadis was sort of like one of the villains as well. Not really the main villain, but she was, well, I guess she actually was probably more so the main villain as opposed to General Beale. But it was really cool, you know, to see them. I just kind of wish it went a little further, and we could have gotten to know General Beale a little bit more, maybe for season 2. But as far as I know right now, they have not renewed it for season 2. A couple other really cool characters in here as well that I think is worth a shout out. Matthew Jeffers' character, he portrayed a character named Net. He only makes an appearance in episode 2 with basically from Michonne's perspective, he sort of helps Michonne get to Rick, and he was a really cool character. Would have loved to see a lot more of him, and the community that he came from was really cool as well. Anyone who used to know anything about Vines or maybe TikToks or Shorts, King Batch is in this series. I can't even remember what his real name is, Andrew something, but either way, I know him as King Batch from Vine when he was in here and whatnot. But I believe he was actually in the original series as well. Like the last time we see Michonne, I think she actually saved him in the main series, or his character. So it sort of her story picks up right where it left off, and Rick's story as well also picks up right where it left off. And once again, I have to give credit when credit's due. The editing for this series, especially, honestly, every episode, I had to say the editing and directing of all the episodes really were pretty spot on, especially with the flashbacks, the way that they would sort of incorporate scenes from the original series and sort of combine them with this new series. I thought it was done really well. This really felt like a true Walking Dead sequel, whereas the other ones not so much. Daryl Dixon didn't really feel like a sequel, although I do think that that's probably one of the strongest. My second favorite of them all. I still think The Ones Who Live, for me, I enjoyed it more than Daryl Dixon, but I do think that Daryl Dixon was a great spin-off all the same, especially with visually, cinematic, the cinematography in that one looked great. Same as The Ones Who Live, especially the helicopter scenes and stuff, looked really, really good. But episode 4, folks, I'm telling you, episode 4 of this series was phenomenal. I am very curious to know if it's like where the story would go now. The way that the ending is, without me spoiling, it does end in a way where you could sort of say goodbye to both Rick and Michonne, and that's all I'll say about that. I won't tell you if they live or if they die or what happens. All I'll say is that there is a conclusion. There doesn't need to be a season 2. We don't even need to see these characters ever again, even though I hope that we see these characters return again at some point, but it doesn't really have to. There is an ending. There is a conclusion to The Ones Who Live. I do think that it was really clever as well that that AMC called it The Ones Who Lived, because they could sort of make it like an anthology series where you could sort of have a season 2, but not necessarily focus on Rick and Michonne. You could bring in somebody else from Alexandria. I would love to see a series with Princess and Mercer. Like they were some of my favorite characters that were introduced in later seasons. I would love to see, maybe a reunion between Rick and Daryl, or Rick and everybody for that matter. So I will be very curious to see if we ever actually see a reunion between these main characters. Will they sort of treat this like a Marvel or DC, where you have independent stories who then eventually come together, and form the Justice League or the Avengers? Will we get that type of event with AMC? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously the ratings and everything will determine that, but overall, man, I really, really loved The Ones Who Lived. I actually think that this was my favorite spin-off of them all. I do feel like the ending was a little rushed, but if you break it down, independent episodes, I still love the ending. I thought the ending was phenomenal. Definitely tugs on the emotion and in your heartstrings, but I do feel like it was a little rushed. However, I thought the pacing for the rest of the series was actually pretty good. They only had 6 episodes to clean everything up, and whatnot, and especially like after watching World Beyond, I felt like World Beyond did a great job at sort of expanding the world, expanding and introducing us to the CRM. I just feel like the CRM and the General Beale, Thorne, Okafor, I feel like they were a little bit of a letdown, even though I loved all the characters and I loved their portrayal. It kind of left me in a way where I was like, man, I wish I could have more. But overall, in terms of Rick and Michonne's story, I thought it was phenomenal. They ended it perfect. It is an ending. There doesn't need to be more, but I hope there is. And all in all, I absolutely loved The Ones Who Lived. So let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button. And until the next one, take care.